to Mental Health Matters. I'm Dr. Audrey Tang.
And I'm Judith Crozier.
And this is the show where we talk about all things mental health and well-being, but we do not have any hot takes or quick fixes. It is expert-led conversation. But we also share lived experiences. And we are bringing back one of our previous guests, Frederick. He is the founder of Project Soul Stride, which is all about men's mental health, especially in underserved communities, in his case in particular the Black community, and speaking about mental health issues, suicidal ideation and so on. Now Chris, when he was last on the show, gave himself a challenge to go offline for 2 months, and we made him promise that he would come back and tell us all about it. So that's what he's going to do today. But before that, let us just speak about what it strikes fear into my heart going offline.
Really, does it?
Yeah, what about you?
Oh, I wish I could just come off everything.
So I watch Abbott's Elementary, and it's about primary school teachers. It's fabulous, really funny. But they had a challenge where the whole school had to go off their phones. And the whole storyline was about how one of them needed to check hospital results, one of them needed to pay their rent, one of them needed to check their bank back. All of this is online.
That's true. Actually, banking would be quite a difficult thing to come off my phone for. Yeah. And I think because it's slowly, everything has gone onto our phone, we don't realise how much of our life is kind of wrapped up in it.
Exactly.
But I would still like to be able to just put my phone in a drawer.
I agree. I would like to get off social media more, and I have got app blocks on all of that now, which has made my life so much happier, actually.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, coming off social media has actually been a big thing, a very positive thing, I think. Okay. I'm still there when I need to post something about the show and so on, but I don't have to be there all the time, and then it just means that when I am on there, I mute or I block accounts that I really don't want to see, and I will often just be more in touch with my cousins or with reels or people that I quite like and enjoy. So I've cleaned up the space a bit.
Oh, that's nice.
But I don't think my NHS is all online. My bank's all online. Email now is all online. I couldn't switch that bit off.
I think it would be impossible to have zero online presence. Yes. Because that's just what life is these days, whether you like it or not.
So let's see how Chris got on.
Yeah.
Chris, welcome back to Mental Health Matters. It's great to see you, and thank you for joining us again.
You're both very welcome. Good to be back with you both.
Oh, that's lovely, and we cannot wait to hear about your offline challenge. Tell us, what did going offline actually mean to you? You know, what did you cut out? What did you keep? And, you know, because I'm thinking, what can I do?
I know.
Well, let's start off by saying that it was a complete and utter nightmare and disaster. But you know, for very interesting reasons, I think this conversation today will highlight some of those, the pitfalls, the traps that I fell into, the assumptions, etc. And it made me sort of really reflect on what I was hoping to get out of it and why I was actually doing it. And what I will start by saying is that because today we're going to be touching on aspects of loneliness, which was brought to bear from this hiatus, I find it, and this might surprise you both, but I find it even more shaming, even more challenging to talk about my loneliness, my challenges with loneliness and social isolation, than I do even talking about my experiences of suicide. Go figure. It might surprise people. It's ironic, but I've realised that it's the loneliness aspect that's wrecking society. I think I posted that yesterday on LinkedIn, and I really had to tap into a lot of reserves last year to face it head on, and it's still impacting me even now. So there has been that ongoing ripple effect. So
Goodness. Wow.
So let's start there in that case. So what did going offline, you know, did you notice it was a mental connection that you lost, emotional, physical? What happened when you stepped back then? What
So I reckon it was all of the above, Audrey. I mean, I look back on, I think it was day 3 and I realized I was starting to scratch more. I realized I was starting to fiddle more and trying to find things to occupy my mind, and my time. So I would go down because I share a house with 6 other housemates. Most of them are working during the day. So I'm on my own most of the time in the daytime. But when they do come home from work, I made it a point to go down to the kitchen so I could hopefully bump into at least one of them just to say hello, just to
Wow.
ask them, how was your day? Because I hadn't had anybody to talk to. And I also went out to the garden more often, and I was smoking more
Oh
during
no.
that early period. But I did. I saw, I think it's a stray cat that was coming from one side of the fence to the other, and so every day I would go down there in the hope that I could befriend this cat,
Oh.
to give me someone to talk to. So but then I kept fighting. I kept fighting. I kept thinking, okay, this is about mental fitness. I mustn't think about it from an illness perspective or from a mental health perspective. I kept thinking to myself, okay, just how fit I am I? Like if I was in the gym now, could I even pump 40 kilos? By the end of week one, I don't think I could have even pumped 5 kilos because I was feeling that shitty.
Oh gosh.
Excuse the language. Yeah, it was. But what was I supposed to do? I'd set the challenge. I'd made it public. Should I quit after week one and just go back online? Should I be honest and tell people I can't do this? So I just kept on doing it. But one person gave me a really good piece of advice before the challenge. She said, to write a log, like a weekly log,
Yeah.
not even like a daily journal, because you can get a little bit too wrapped up in your own thoughts that way. But at the end of each week, just write down your experiences throughout that week, the good, the bad, what you learned, anything fun you did. Just scribble it all down, and then when you get to the end of the 2 months, then write a blog. And that's the funny blog that if you both haven't seen it, you have to read it, because it is quite funny actually.
Can I just ask, was it just online on the internet as it is, or was it television and radio as well? You were cutting out.
Oh, thank God, it was just online, Judith. I
Okay,
mean,
that would have
I
been really
yeah,
hard
yeah.
otherwise.
Well, it would have been impossible. I mean, you have to realize that I live in one room, and my iPad is where I watch all of my streaming TV channels. So that device never got turned off. It was on 24 hours a day. Even when I was sleeping, I had to have it on just to have noise in the background.
It's really sad.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah. Thank you. So, did your sense of time or attention or presence change while you were offline?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess when I pick up my phone, the first thing I look at is the time. But when I'm not picking it up to check my online feeds,
Yeah.
then and I don't wear a watch, I have no real sense of time around me. So my daily routines and patterns would change. The times of day that I would get up, the times of day that I would eat, it all started to just become one big bubble.
Right.
Yeah, so that was quite self-evident, I think, after week 2 or 3. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I can imagine that. And how did it affect your relationships and your
Well,
sense of connection with other
yeah, I mean,
people?
this is probably the biggest area of concern. Um, I, I, I made one really bad assumption, and that was when I told my online community that I was going to be offline for 2 months. I hoped, I prayed, to some extent, almost expected that some people would find a way to reach out to me and call me or message me or email me to check how was I doing. And the reason why I made this assumption, and it's a lesson really well learned for all advocates, those of us who are in the lived experience space, we spend so much of our time giving. We spend so much of our time messaging, telling our stories, helping organizations to improve, their systems, etc. But what was very self-evident and quite disappointing is that when, as a lived experience advocate, when you turn yourself off, nobody contacts you.
Wow.
Even though they've heard me talk about how lonely I am, my mental health issues, my extreme depression, my suicidal ideations, nobody thought to say, hold on a minute, if this guy's going to be offline for 2 months, maybe we ought to look in on this guy. No, nobody did. I received a couple of WhatsApp messages from close friends, but I didn't pick up the phone. Nobody picked up the phone. So I was. That is what I call exclusion.
That's a very interesting point, which I want to come back to this, and we will carry on that bit of the conversation because I think that's really, really important. And we will be back to carry that conversation on after a tip from one of our previous guests. But just briefly, if there are groups out there, so if you can't get to see a coach or you can't get to see a therapist, a lot of people say, well, go to the gym or do something else, go out and meet people. But sometimes, and men in particular feel this, those social meetup groups and things, you feel it's a bit pathetic, which it isn't.
No.
But how do you get out of that stigma?
Yeah, and I should have mentioned that I think the first step is a lot of the self-help things that a man can do for themselves. So, in my work, my goal is to empower men to live lives that they love. So, first of all, I think it's looking internal, doing that reflection. What's going on for me? Yeah. How can I help myself to do more? There is lots of self-help stuff out there. Looking inward at what you're finding challenging, what the solutions might be. I think that's the first step. I think broader than that, it's really speaking to others as well. What have they found helpful? I think some of those groups, and we're seeing more and more of those groups now. Men's Walking and Talking is a big network now across the country. Andy's Man Club. There's things like Men's Sheds. So some of these things are really popular now, and I hope that there's less stigma about attending them and going along, and that they're becoming a community in their own right, which is really good to see.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters. We are talking with Chris Frederick. He is the founder of Project Soul Stride. He's an advocate for men's mental health, and we have been talking about a challenge that he did, which was to go offline for 2 months, and some of the experiences that he had with that, some of them were unexpected. And one of the key things that we talked about was the feeling of exclusion when you went offline and people didn't contact you. People do worry they will become less relevant when they go offline because suddenly, I'm not there anymore. Is the world going to carry on? So you've already explained that actually the world did carry on and worse still, they weren't checking in. So how did that also impact on you and your feelings of value and identity?
Yeah, so right. I mean, I came from the private sector where it was all about performance metrics. It's all about cadences. It's all about timing. So my posts would go out at a certain time of day, usually 8:30 in the morning. I would pre-plan my posts in advance. I also belong to a over 50s online group on Discord, which is called Restless. It's a wonderful community. I post thoughts of the day at 9 a.m. every morning. Some people say it's a lovely thing to do. It's such a small thing to do. Seeing how many people would not be posting for the next 60 days. It's amazing how many people actually said, Chris, we're really going to miss your posts. Take care of yourself. That was the closest I'd come to feeling like I belonged. That's the key word, that I actually had a sense of belonging to a community. On most occasions, I know this is going to sound so pathetic, and if you decide not to show this podcast, it wouldn't surprise me, because this is so sad, is that when I do those posts, the rest of my day and how I feel is built on those posts. Right? Could you imagine the pressure that puts on yourself, where you're thinking, I'm constantly looking for the likes, I'm constantly looking for the comments, just from those momentary acts of social media interaction. Take those away, what is left? This is what I had to come to terms with. I actually had very, very little left.
I think that's heartbreaking. And actually, I'm so... happy doesn't seem to be the right word, but the fact that you are able to say that, I think you have voiced what a lot of content creators feel and will not say. That who you are can depend so much on that interaction. And so that kind of leads me to my next question, because being offline and not having that interaction, did that change how you thought about yourself? Because you weren't being responded to. And this is really important, not just for people who are feeling lonely, but young content creators out there who feel the need. I must post. Yeah.
I mean, by the end of month 1, I started to, and if I were there in the studio, I would allow you to slap me on the wrist for this, because I started to creep back online, because I was so, I don't mind telling you, I had to. I felt like I was cheating in the classroom, because I was so desperate to just have a little look-see. The first question was, is anybody missing me? How many new followers? Because I wrote down before I started how many followers I had and how many contacts I had. And I wanted to see how many new followers had connected with me during my absence, and how many people had tagged me on their LinkedIn post in my absence. I was so happy that when I opened LinkedIn at the end of month and I saw all these like notifications, I was like, okay, so here's a decision, Chris. Do you open up everything and risk slipping immediately back into your online presence, or do you just satisfy yourself, okay, at least one person has thought about me? And that's exactly what I did. So I set myself on your iPhone. You can actually set time limits for every single app. I didn't know you could do that. And so when I found it, I set myself, like, in the beginning of week 5, I'd set myself like 5 minutes for LinkedIn, 5 minutes for Facebook, and 5 minutes for Blue Sky. And when I could almost see the countdown, you were at 4 minutes 30. I was like, okay, what do I do now? Do I actually post anything? Do I look at anything? No. So I just shut it down. And then I kept doing that for about 2 weeks. And then in the last 2 weeks of the 2 months, I was just getting myself like ready to hit the ground running, after the 2 months, because I knew that I wanted people to say, Jesus, we've really missed this guy. It became my sole obsession.
Wow.
And I'm just thinking, it's such a long time as well. If that's something that is your life day in, day out, it's such a very, very long time.
And also, Judith, I think this is worth mentioning, because this is quite important, I believe. If I could turn the clock back, would I have done it that way? I think I realized that I was not mentally fit enough to take that much time away from social media. I had convinced myself that the therapy had worked. I felt my well-being was at a good place. I do my daily check-ins of my ratings of 1 to 5, 5 being mentally fit, 0 being feeling really bad. And let's say when I started, in my heart, in my stomach, which is where I feel it most, I think I was probably at a 3, when really to do something like a 2 months hiatus, you really do need to be at a 4 to a 4.5, because if that's all you've got, you're screwed.
I think we need to, at this point, just I know that you're going to ask a very important question next about modern life, to make it clear that actually, Chris, your situation is slightly different to a lot of people in that online is your community. So this would be akin to all of us sitting there going, I'm not going to do any of my clubs, I'm not going to do any of my social connections outside or anything like that, including social media. For you, Chris, it is all on social media as a platform. That's all, not as an addiction. It's a very different sort of thing. It's like us giving up all of those other.
Well, that's literally what I was going to say. So even if you're extremely healthy mentally, imagine sitting in your house, pulling down blackout blinds and sitting there for 2 months. That's the equivalent of what you've done. So I think it sounds almost like you're beating yourself up, for want of a better phrase, for not being more but for not being in a better space well-being wise. But actually, even if you were, I think
everyone
it's just such a huge impact on doing that.
I think you're right. I think in hindsight, I had set myself up for total failure.
No, I don't think so, because it's an experiment.
I'll tell you why. Because it was an experiment, but I tell you what I did as well is I'd gone into that the month before. I was like, even when we talked about it last year, I was thinking, right, set some goals. Like, okay, so I had a whole load of online free courses that I was going to go through. I wanted to go walking like 3 times a week. I wanted to lose, I think it was like just 5 or 6 pounds over 2 months. Do my work outside of this room. And you know what? I was a complete and utter failure. I didn't go walking. The joke was, by the end of the 2 months, I put on weight. I put on weight, which is like, dude, what did you do? Why did you promise yourself you were going to do these things? And then when you came to the end of the 2 months, I felt like even more of a failure.
I think that if you look at it as an experiment, though, it's all very well having these goals, because you think, oh, I'm going to have all this extra time that I would have been online, so I'm going to go walking. But if the lack of online presence has such a detrimental effect on you, you're not going to have the motivation to go walking. You're not going to have the motivation to go out and do other things. So it's if you can look at it, like we're more able to look at it objectively and see why you weren't able to go out walking potentially. So I think that then beating yourself up about that as well, I don't think you should, personally. And I'm just a lay person, you know. Just looking at it like that, I think it's a very interesting experiment. Yes, goodness me. So leading on to my next question, then, doing what you've done, going completely offline, wouldn't be realistic for a lot of people. So you've already touched on this, but what parts of modern life kind of made that clear for you?
I should have got onto things like Borrow My Doggy, or those house sitting apps that are out there, because actually I got recommended those later, but I looked at them and I thought, oh, because I live in relative poverty, so I've not been able to go on a holiday for years. I haven't been on a plane for years. So my holiday was a holiday from myself. It was a holiday from social media. Yes. Even I realized that if I opened up my laptop to start doing writing or doing these online courses, the fact that I'm on a keyboard, I know that I would just have hit LinkedIn, enter. Right. So I had to keep the laptop shut for those 2 months. It gathered dust for 2 months. I just wish that I had been brave enough to say, look, can I join this borrow my doggy? Can I take your dog for a walk? Or can I house sit for you for a couple of weeks? People go on holiday during the summer. If I did it again, I'd make sure I did a couple of smart things like that, because because just being in a different environment, being in somebody else's house would be nice. And I love dogs, and that would have made such a difference to me.
There's part of me that actually thinks you need to do it again, even if it's just for a week.
That's what I was thinking.
With all of these things, because you've learned
loads.
so much from this. You've
Yeah.
learned so much about
agree.
yourself. You've learned so much about society.
Yes.
You've learned where the going cold turkey compared to knowing what to do. And you're talking about courage and things like that. And you've got ways of just putting a block on the app, and so you've discovered tools that will help you. I just think do it again for a week.
For a week, yes.
With all of that in mind,
Yes.
and tell people, I need you to check in on me.
Yes.
And they
Yes.
will, if
Yes,
you tell
they will.
people. Because the problem is, and I know the assumption in my head, it will be, oh, but no one cares. What people are thinking is, he's gone completely offline. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't want to bother him.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that's a fair comment. You'll be pleased to hear that the cat who I tried to befriend last year has come back. And over the last week or so, we've shot video together in my back garden. She's come over and she's constantly cuddling my feet and sitting on my feet. And so it's almost like she knows this man needs me.
Needs some cat affection.
Yeah, needs some affection. Yeah. And it's been wonderful. It's made my days over the last week or two.
Oh, I love that.
beautiful.
That's so lovely. So then everything you've spoken about, you've kind of touched on what was necessary for you and what you could leave for 2 months. What do you think the line is then between the necessary digital engagement and unnecessary consumption? And how do we avoid turning offline living into another unrealistic ideal that other people might feel they're failing at, like you have said that you did feel like you failed at?
Yeah, I mean, when I came back in September, I hit the ground running. So I had everything planned. I had my issue of the Ripple report ready to go. I had the blog draft ready to go. I had interviews lined up. So basically what I decided was that I would sandwich in so much public engagement activity in the last few months of the year to make up for the 2 months that I was absent. Do you know what happened then? I went into complete burnout.
Oh no!
Yeah, because I know, and trust me. So basically, it was like double jeopardy. So I got diagnosed with diabetes type 2 in about October, and you know what I'd said to the doctor? I said, "This is so ridiculous. It's so scary for me even to admit this to you both." But it was almost like I said to the doctor, "I knew I was sick. I knew my body was declining. I wasn't listening to it. It was almost like I wanted to justify how I was feeling mentally. So now I've got, on top of everything else, now I've got diabetes to contend with." I don't know if this makes any sense, but it's like I was trying to load all health issues on me to say, justify why I'm not leaving the house, to justify why I'm not going out, to justify why I'm so alone. This is how my mind was working.
I think it's very courageous, and we're very grateful that you have made those statements, because I think you have voiced what a lot of people are thinking, which is a lot of the time it is very easy to almost use a health issue as an excuse for actually what is a mental health issue, which needs to be treated in a different way. And I think a lot of people would not be as aware to mention that. So I think that's really important that you have, and we're grateful to you for doing so. We're going to keep you, Chris, and we will be back just after a tip from one of our guest experts.
If you're looking for some quick and easy things that you could do to improve your mood, your mental health and physical health. I would start with some reflection. There's an exercise called the Wheel of Life, which is a great one to do, where you divide your life up into 8 different segments. It could be career, relationships, finances, future, looking, and then you score each one out of 10, and then you can see which areas of your life, you know, might need more attention than others. So that's a great first thing to do. Once you've done that, you can then start to identify each different area and think about some improvements, some changes that might sort of, you know, take things forward in that area. Who can help? Who's around? Who's in your squad to help you move forward? That could be a partner, it could be a work colleague, a friend or family member. And I think physical health as well, related to mental health, also thinking through the SHED abbreviation. So, you know, your sleep, what's your sleep like? I think most experts feel that you should get at least 8 hours a night. What's your hydration like during the day? If we're not hydrated, that can really affect energy, motivation and what we do during the day. Exercise, are you getting enough? I think it's something like 5 times 30 minutes a day is the recommended amount, and that can be obviously cardio or other types of exercise as well. And then diet and nutrition, obviously really important. And those sort of 4 things, I think, if they're not right, you know, it can really affect everything else that's going on in your life. So they're really key foundations for the things that you do, you know, in your personal or professional life. So those are sort of 4 key ones for me. So I think, yeah, looking after, seeing where you are, doing that reflection, doing something like the Wheel of Life, looking after your internal, you know, mental and physical health. And also, of course, you know, if you wish to speak to an expert or a coach or a therapist or a counsellor, that's an opportunity as well to give you a different boost and a different opinion around where you are in your life currently.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters, where we're talking to Frederick, who is an advocate of men's mental health. We're talking to him about a very interesting experiment that Chris carried out, where he went offline for 2 months, and your kind of conclusions of that. If someone's thinking about doing this but can't quit social media entirely, where do you think the biggest wins come from reducing use? And are there, for you anyway, particular platforms or behaviours that felt more draining than others?
So the first question was around the wins?
Yes. So where would you get most effect from reducing the use of certain platforms, I guess?
This is one of those instances where do as I say and not as I do, right? I had this same conversation with somebody yesterday. I'm full of such good advice and wise counsel, and then on the flip side, if you had a camera in my room, you know, filming me during the day, you'd see me lying on my bed watching reruns of EastEnders and Dallas, to the extent where I could quote J.R. Ewing verbatim. You know, that's you know, and I just turned 56, so also the age does come into it as well. I mean, I'm not as active obviously as I once was. I know I'm overweight, I'm physically not brilliant, I don't have, you know, expendable income to even just go to the cinema very often because I love film. So, you know, I have to, when I took those aspects of my life away, I had to really think about where I was going to spend my money. And you know what I did? Because I was so bored, I realized my spending on Amazon during those 2 months, because I was actually I was just finding things to buy. Even if it meant that I'd buy things, unpack it, realize I don't want it, and then send it back. I also realized that when I went to the local co-op, and this is something that I think we all need to be cognizant of, when you go to a supermarket, spend a bit of time talking to the folks on the till, because they're amazing people. I mean, there's a couple of wonderful Caribbean aunties that I just talk to over there, even if it means people waiting a minute longer to pay for their goods, right? Because I realized that from the walk from here to the co-op, if I can smile at one person, if I can say good morning to one person and have that person respond without thinking I'm a nutter, then that for me is it's a nice takeaway. Yeah, just those small acts of, call them kindness, community, just speaking to folks in the community, just, helping an old lady with a basket, putting it up on the checkout counter, just saying good morning to people when you're walking on the street, smiling at people without them thinking they're at risk or that this guy's crazy. I miss that. In Asia, I took that for granted.
I think
Yeah.
what you're saying is actually there's a much bigger indictment on society and how we behave. Everything that you're saying, actually people do these things because they are trying to connect, they're trying to reach out. It's not stupid, it's not weird, it's not creepy.
No, it isn't.
So let's put that out there right now. But it is an indictment on the ways that society treats each other.
Yes, I agree.
And I think you're voicing it in from experience, which actually makes it harder to hear. But I am grateful for you for doing so.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I remember, Audrey, I remember when the first time I travelled from Beijing to Ulaanbaatar in Mongolia, minus 20 degrees during the day, bitter cold, right? We're talking about a society that's not first world at that time. It was not, one of the, it was an emerging economy. But it struck me that even as a black man, walking down the streets of Ulaanbaatar, and there'd be so few black people or any ethnic minorities in Ulaanbaatar, I could say good morning to a Mongolian person. I could say a hello in Mongolian or smile, and it's amazing how many people would smile back and say hello and stop and have a conversation. But you try to do that here, it's not easy.
After all your experiences then, what does a healthy enough digital life look like for you now, and where can we learn more about you as well?
Yeah, so I made a conscious decision in December, Jan, that I would really step back from particularly LinkedIn, because that dominates my time, right? I posted over 300 posts last year, just an unbelievable. I added over 3,000 new connections last year. It was an extraordinary year. I came into this year completely turning it on its head, and I've decided that I'm only going to post once in a while. And when I say once in a while, maybe 2-3 times a month. That's it, right? And I would actually spend, and this is the key thing for me, the time I spend on LinkedIn is going to be far less about my content and about me, but I really want to understand more about the people that I've connected with, and I want to see how I can help them. So if somebody posts, oh, we're doing a study on X, I want to tag somebody who I think can support that study or give them advice on this particular aspect. And I think that with over 1 billion users on LinkedIn, we are just racing to see who's got the most, who's got the biggest brand, who's got the most connections, who's got the most likes, who's got the most reposts. Actually, for me now, I've reached that level where I don't really need any more connections. What I want to do now is I want to actually use those connections to help. I think that's a really important change that I'm making to my online presence this year.
That's huge. And that says so much, again, about how we use social media and how we can use it so positively as well. In which case, where are we best to find you, if not on LinkedIn?
Yeah, well, you'll always find me on LinkedIn. I mean, the Mental Health Jedi is alive and kicking. You'll find me through the Star Wars fans group. You'll find me on the Project Soul Stride page. You'll find me on my own LinkedIn feed. I want the posts to be more thoughtful. I want even posting yesterday about being with you both today. That was a conscious post because for me, that was about helping to get your brand out. It wasn't necessarily about me. It was about talking about loneliness again, being honest about that, shining a light on your brand and saying, look, guys, if you like me, you're going to like what I'm talking to these two lovely ladies about. So just pay attention.
Oh, brilliant.
I really think what's very important, and we're very, very grateful to you for being so honest with this, is to recognise how some people are using online behaviour, because I think it's very easy to just go, oh, online's really bad for us, whereas actually many people connect with their communities online, and removing that is not possible.
No.
The other thing is that you really make very clear is how almost self-obsessed society is. We don't look out for each other. We don't smile at each other.
No.
We walk down the street kind of focused on our own thing. And actually, yet, if you do smile at someone, it makes a huge difference. So I think what you have done is you have opened a Pandora's box, which maybe is unpalatable for some, but needs to be opened.
Absolutely.
And we are grateful to you, Chris.
You're very welcome. I'll finish with just this one last comment. So last night was the opening of this year's Rugby Six Nations tournament. France smashed Ireland, and I used to play rugby at school, and I'm fortunate that I still have connections with 5 of my fellow rugby schoolmates. Every year I restart a WhatsApp group for this year's Six Nations. It's amazing because for the next 6 weeks, the 6 of us will be communicating so frequently on that group. And it's not just about rugby, it's about food, it's about beer, it's about music. And I tell you what, when that last match finishes, it breaks my heart that I turn it off for another year. But I can tell you that when I invited everybody again yesterday, I knew they were all so happy that we're doing it for a second year. So what does that say? We've got something in common, and we're peers, and we enjoy talking about these things. Yeah,
that's amazing.
That really is. And maybe just don't switch it off after the tournament. Just keep it going. Keep it going. Oh, Chris, thank you so much. And we are going to head over to Test the Trend. On this week's Test the Trend, I would like you to do this along with Jude, okay? We're just going to do a breathing exercise. Very, very simple. I'm going to do square breathing, so you breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. That's all I'm going to ask you to do, and see how you feel. So do this with me. Do this with me. Breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. Breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. Breathe all the way out, otherwise you'll get fuzzy. Breathing in, all the way out. Really let the air out. Breathing in, and all the way out. Okay. Now, this breathing exercise generally is supposed to calm our nervous system down, but many people don't like it. And it's the same thing. Chris mentions loneliness. It's this, all these thoughts cannot be switched off, even though the breathing exercise, everyone talks about breathing and yoga, and we need to feel nice about it, doesn't work for everybody. How did that feel for you?
The breathing? Yeah, always makes me feel really grounded and calm, always.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
It does for me now as
Does
well.
it?
So, it works for some of us. But for those of you who found it difficult to switch off, this is the actual challenge. What were you thinking about? Where was your energy going? Was it going on, this is so boring, or I need to send that email, or I need to go to work, or why am I wasting my time watching this program, which, you may have switched off by now, so this will be useless. But if you were thinking about those things and you could catch those thoughts, that tells you where your energy is going. So even if you don't like the breathing exercise, knowing where your thinking is going, if you're trying it, can give you a lot of data and information as to where your thoughts are going and where your energy is going, and therefore where your time is likely to go during the day. So that is this week's challenge. where do your thoughts go? Because if you can catch them, that is data and that is information that you can work on to make the changes that you want. So we've got to the end of the show. That was so eye-opening.
And I think that we were both surprised at the result and what
Yes.
happened and how Chris felt.
Yes, and also, as I said to him, I'm really grateful for him saying it. I wish he stopped being so down on himself, because actually what he said was so important for people to hear. It wasn't silly.
No, it wasn't.
Crazy, creepy, any of those words. He genuinely voiced what I think is a problem in society, and that's loneliness. And when he talks about, he would go to the stray cat to see, and go to the co-op to talk to people, but I would order Amazon parcels and then send them back just to have something to do. Age concern, or one of them has said that older people are actually signing up to junk mail to make sure that they're not forgotten.
Oh no.
That is exactly what Chris has voiced.
That's exactly
and
the
this is
same.
what's happening.
Oh my
Are
gosh.
we really that sort of society?
It's horrible, isn't it? The disconnect that we have now compared to how it used to be, I don't know, we're probably going back 50, 60 years, 40 years maybe, is frightening, and we need to reverse it somehow.
We do. And the other thing that sort of jumped out at me was when he was saying, I've got all of these things that I wanted to do offline and didn't.
Yeah.
And there is part of me that kind of goes, it does not compute if you've got those things. But you said something very interesting in the break. It's about that motivation. And when you're not feeling it, whatever it is, there's no motivation in there.
It's really hard to get the motivation to do something, especially if it's new, and especially if it involves, if there's no immediate or obvious gain. So, as we were saying, going to the co-op to buy your dinner, you're going to do it. You have to go. Going to the end of the garden to see the cat. Yeah. There's a prize, if you like.
Yes, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and Chris was open about it. He said his goal was to lose weight. That's such a long way in advance that it's difficult to keep that prize in mind and to visualise that prize. And so if you're feeling down in the dumps, then getting up and going for a walk around the block, you think, well, walking around the block isn't going to do anything.
Yes.
And then all of the not doing anything really doesn't do anything.
And adds up to gaining weight or...
Exactly.
But yeah, if you had, and this goes back to what our guest Amy Rebecca said, if you just walk around the block and then you go, I could walk around the block tomorrow.
And a bit further.
And then I can go a bit further the next day, and you keep doing it. It's not even the weight loss that happens, but you become a person who walks.
Exactly. And who sees people and who says hello.
Yes.
And notices if the old lady's milk isn't taken in or whatever.
Yes.
A small change can make such a huge difference. But it's doing that small change, it's just, you might as well say climb Everest.
Yeah, it's not relating it to the goal, it's relating it to just making a lifestyle change.
Yeah, exactly.
It's such an eye-opening conversation. Do leave your comments if you've got something to say. We do like to read them, so thank you if you have been doing that as well. And from all of us here at Mental Health Matters, have a healthy week.